Yeah, yeah. Making her way to the mic. They start dimming the lights. You start feeling alright. From Birmingham, home of the Teddy Longs and the Ruben Studders. More once you discover. For all of the lovers, Whitney Houston and Roman Reigns. For all of the lovers, and Mickey James and Marvin Gaye. For all of the lovers, and Sasha Banks, Janelle Monáe, Silk, Sonic, and Paige. Allow me to say, look, I just found a place, sweet escape for every one of us. I was kinda late, cause I just made it off the struggle bus. Walking by the fate, cause I know it's right in front of us. Yo, I ain't with the hate, gotta focus on what's great. Ladies and gentlemen, Steph Hardy is on the air. Had to drop a couple bars just to make you all aware. So, sit back, relax, enjoy the show. You know I go by Joe or the rest of the flow, yeah.
Hey y'all, welcome to a brand new episode of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast, the extra version with your girl Stephanie Hardy. Of course, happy Friday night. I hope you enjoyed SmackDown and I hope that you are ready for this really big wrestling weekend that we've got in store over the next couple of days. Oh my gosh, but of course, thank you guys so much if you're watching me live. And of course, if you're going to watch this later, thank you for watching it later or listening to this later. But either way, I wanted to come on here and do a special episode about most of the wrestling events that are taking place this weekend. Hence why the name of this episode is called Stephanie's Big Prediction Palooza. Because, like I mentioned, there is so much wrestling going on this weekend because, of course, you have WWE, which just went off and ended SmackDown and their Night of Champions event. Then you also have TNA and their Slammiversary, which is taking place Sunday. Then on top of that, you have AEW's big event with CMLL, Stardom, and New Japan with the Forbidden Door. And then you also have AAA taking place on Saturday as well. Then on top of that, you have NXT's Great American Bash. There is a lot of wrestling going on, and I just wanted to come on and give my 2 cents on what I think is going to happen over the next 2 days. So, if you are with me watching, thank you so much. And of course, if you listen to this later, you'll hear my thoughts on the pay per views. But of course, all of these predictions are not gospel to me. This is just what I think is going to happen with most of these events. But I, of course, hope that you are going to have a really great weekend and you're somewhere safe and tucked in your pajamas with your cereal watching wrestling or drinking a couple drinks, maybe relaxing, watching some wrestling on Sunday night. But either way, I just hope you're going to have a really, really fantabulous weekend watching all this amazing wrestling. So, of course, we have to start with the event that is taking place tomorrow afternoon / tomorrow night, depending on where you are. And that is Night of Champions, which will be happening in Saudi Arabia, in Riyadh, because of course WWE still has that lucrative 10-year deal going on with Saudi Arabia for them to have different events there. And Night of Champions is one of them. Of course, the root of this event sort of came from WCW back in the day and how they would have Clash of Champions. And I believe that was sort of the root of it. So now it's sort of morphed into Night of Champions, where all of the championships, or at least most of them, will be defended. And then, of course, we will be crowning a new king and queen of the ring for this year, which means that they will have an opportunity to face off against whoever's the champion headed into SummerSlam, Minnesota. I'm very excited about this pay per view because there's still, even with all the titles on the line, there's still a lot at stake. And of course, SummerSlam is the biggest party of the summer, like they always bill it as. So I'm just really excited to see what's going to happen from that. So, of course, HWP would not be HWP if I did not start with the women. So, of course, now I'm going to give my prediction for this match, which is Tiffany Stratton versus Jade Cargill for the Women's United States Championship. I would like to point out the fact that this is the very first time in the 2 years, I believe, since this championship has existed, that it has been defended on a PLE. It's really insane that this is the first time that it's happening, which is an issue that I have brought up on the show in past episodes before. But I am happy that at the very least it's being defended here with a champion like Tiffany Stratton, who already has so much of her personality um, and her character fleshed out to the point to where it puts more of a spotlight on this championship, which it definitely needs at this point. um and I'm just really glad that now we've reached a point where it can be defended on a PLE, because up until now it had only been defended on Saturday night main events and episodes of SmackDown. So I'm excited about that. And of course she'll be defending the title against Jade Cargill, who after having really great matches, of course, she's lost her WWE Women's Championship to Rhea Ripley, and Rhea is out for right now. Not sure how long that's going to be. So in the midst of that, Jade now has her sights set on the Women's United States Championship. This is a rivalry that I was not expecting them to sort of revisit again, because a part of me was hoping that with Tiffany holding this new championship that maybe she would have newer opponents, like maybe a Jordan Grace, or maybe just really, it's kind of hard to say, or maybe even B-Fab challenging her, or maybe even Michin challenging her, or something like that. I don't know. I just figured like maybe it could be someone else, or maybe even Candice LeRae challenging Tiffany Stratton. But here we are in the today of things, and it's back to Jade Cargill again. And of course, you want to put your biggest stars on the card. So I'm not too mad about that. But at the same time, I just was not expecting them to sort of revisit this rivalry again this soon. Because, of course, Jade won the WWE Women's Championship off of Tiffany Stratton at a Saturday night's main event last year. So here we are, and we're back at this rivalry. Now, I'm not too. This, I feel like I feel like Tiffany, I'm going to predict that Tiffany Stratton is going to retain this title simply because she hasn't held it that long. She hasn't held the Women's United States Championship that long. And seeing as her friendship with Chelsea Green, who was, of course, the first ever Women's United States Champion, is still sort of blossoming, I feel like the rubber might be meeting the road there with that. But at the same time, I just feel like Tiffany just needs to, get her shine on with this title a little bit more before Jade ultimately comes to try to collect it. So, yeah, I think Tiffany, I'm going to predict that Tiffany Stratton is going to retain the Women's United States Championship, but I am going to also predict that this match is going to be really good, and it might be a huge hit in a on a card where there really might be a whole lot of huge hits. But I really have a lot of faith in both of these women. I feel like they're going to do a good job. But I just ultimately feel that Tiffany Stratton is going to retain the Women's United States Championship. So yeah, those are my thoughts on that match. Now we move to a match that really has a bit more higher stakes, and that's Liv Morgan, the Women's World Champion, facing off against Io Sky in the finals of the Queen of the Ring tournament. Now, of course, I have mentioned ad nauseum how much I did not want to see Liv Morgan move forward in the finals, simply because I hated her being in the tournament, simply because, whoever won the tournament would have the opportunity to either face her or face Rhea Ripley for their championship at SummerSlam. But now Liv has moved all the way forward. She beat Charlotte Flair, who was fighting tooth and nail for her opportunity, but just wound up losing due to the injury and being attacked by Jade Cargill and her baddies. So now Liv Morgan is here, and she is going to face off against Io Sky. And a part of me really wants to see Io Sky win this match, simply because I feel like since her friendship with Rhea Ripley has sort of separated, we haven't seen a lot of her on top lately. And then, of course, after she had her moment with Asuka and everything, we haven't had a lot of moments of her being at the top and holding on to a level of glory in a minute. And I would love to see her get this opportunity to see who she would ultimately choose to face. Would she choose her best friend Rhea and we get sort of like a bigger and a more amazing version of the match that they had at Evolution? Would their sisterhood have to take a back seat to that level of glory again? I feel like that would be something very intriguing to see. But then on the other hand, you have Liv Morgan, who could win and become Queen of the Ring and decide that she wants, and of course, face off against Rhea Ripley again. And either way, it's like in both situations, you're having a repeat of rivalries that we have seen play out before. And Liv and Rhea, for what it's worth, was very heated stuff, even though even I mentioned on my podcast that I hated the fact that it was sort of coming down to Liv and Rhea fighting over a guy. Eventually, once you move Dominic out of the way, their rivalry was a bit more heated and a bit more passionate than just being relegated to fighting over a man. And now, if Liv fought against Rhea, she would be fighting for, the right to call herself a double champion. But then the thing that intrigues me the most that I didn't think of until I was watching SmackDown tonight is the fact that if Liv were to win and face off against Rhea at SummerSlam, it would almost they WWE would have a unique opportunity to sort of have Liv's chickens come home to roost at SummerSlam. Because of course, if you remember a few years ago, at SummerSlam, that was where Liv and Dominic basically pulled a really heartbreaking heist on Rhea Ripley, kicking her and Damian Priest out of the Judgment Day and choosing each other and basically just starting a whole new version of the Judgment Day and wreaking havoc on everybody's lives. So, wouldn't it be funny if it was a full circle moment if Liv were to win Queen of the Ring tomorrow, make it to SummerSlam and face off against Rhea Ripley, only for her Judgment Day sisters to stab her in the back, or for Dominic to stab her in the back again. Well, not again, but just stab her in the back, and then she gets excommunicated from the Judgment Day due to her shenanigans of wanting to be greedy and stay on top at the expense of Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez. I'm just saying, I feel like that would be insane cinema for SummerSlam. Um, Even though a lot of people aren't really loving the idea of Liv Morgan winning Queen of the Ring, but I feel like if that is a way for us to get that level of full circle storytelling at SummerSlam, then I could almost allow it. So, it's really hard to choose. But I am looking forward to seeing Liv and Io fight each other because, of course, at Saturday night's main event, they did have an amazing match against each other in which I believe Liv Morgan's face almost got broken by Io's knee. It was really nuts, but that match was fantastic. So I know we're going to get a great match out of both of these ladies for sure. But as much as I hate to do this, I'm predicting that Liv Morgan is going to win Queen of the Ring, and we might be getting some craziness at SummerSlam involving her and Rhea Ripley. I know it's a little cringy, and I know we, don't necessarily like the idea of her being champion and in the thing, but hey, it's wrestling. What are we going to do? So, yeah, I'm predicting that Liv Morgan is going to ultimately win Queen of the Ring. Um, and we might get some craziness at SummerSlam that might feed into it. Um, yeah, but I would also love it if Io won too. So my heart is torn, but I feel like it's gonna be ultimately be Liv. So yeah, so that's all for the women, I believe, for Night of Champions. And now we're gonna move into the men. Of course, now we got to start and talk about the United States Championship match between Trick Williams and Ricky Saints, the Absolute. And let me just say, congratulations to Trick Williams for getting married to Lash Legend in Jamaica. Now, of course, People magazine released the exclusive photos of that online. So if you have not checked that out, I do recommend that you do. Trick Williams and Lash Legend made a beautiful bride and groom. Oh my God, it was so lovely. I'm just so happy for them. And then, of course, Trick Williams got on the microphone and explained to the audience in London, England, look, I wasn't at SmackDown because I was in Jamaica getting married and I'm happy. And then he took off his sunglasses and said, and I know the legend's not here tonight, but just know I'm thinking about you, girl. And it just reminded me of it reminded me of Undercover Brother, if you've ever seen that movie where Undercover Brother was on the phone and he actually told Sister Girl, I'm thinking about you, girl. Like, that's just what that reminded me of. And I just love them as a couple. I always have. I popped when they kissed on NXT, and I loved it anytime they flirted with each other on screen. So to see them get married, it's just so beautiful. So congratulations to them. And little Yachty was there too, and he said that, and I'm just like, that's awesome. So yay, marriage. One day, Lord. But anyway, Ricky Saints came out there and talked trash, and while everybody was booing him, he said that he actually said to the audience, "Look, I'm your wife's favorite lover. I am your mother's favorite son." And I was just like, "You are just hilarious." And then on top of that, he actually told Lil Yachty and interrupted him and said, "We don't need any comments from the peanut gallery." And it just I just love the authenticity of their blackness. I just never get tired of hearing things that I've heard my entire life be said on wrestling television. I never get tired of it. But I'm going to predict that Trick Williams is going to retain his championship because I just ultimately feel like there just something that just isn't finished when it comes to him and Carmelo Hayes. I know Carmelo got his head kind of whacked in the back in that number one contenders match with Ricky Saints with that turnbuckle. But I just can't help but feel that all of this is sort of leading to a big blow up for Carmelo and Trick to have ultimately possibly at SummerSlam. So I'm definitely predicting that Trick Williams is going to retain because he is on a hot streak right now and I just don't see him losing it right now. But Ricky Saints, you know, he's creeping up on him and he's looking for his opportunity. So for all we know, some shenanigans might be afoot and Ricky might still have an axe to grind with Trick and we might still get a triple threat. Who knows? But I'm predicting that Trick Williams is definitely going to retain that United States Championship. Yeah, he's just going to retain it because he's just that guy right now. And yeah, we love him. So yeah, that's just how I feel about that match. Now we get into this match. Seth Rollins versus Braun Breaker in a steel cage match. Oh, this is tough because these are two very intense men and you're locking them in a cage with each other. This has the potential to steal the show for me simply because Seth Rollins just operates on a really high level. And then you have Braun Breaker, who is just a wild animal. And when you have these two intense people locked up together, craziness has no choice but to manifest. And I feel like this could very well be the last time we see them in the ring against one another. We've seen them fight so many times over the past couple of months. And I just feel like at this point, this really should be it. Like, I just really feel like this should be it. So I'm going to predict that Seth Rollins is going to win here and Braun Breaker might spiral out of control. But then again, you have the possible X factor of Paul Heyman, and then you also have the other members of the Vision that could come out and try to interfere because this is just a regular steel cage match and not Hell in a Cell where the top of it is closed. This is an open steel cage where someone could jump in or throw in a weapon or something like that. So shenanigans could very well be afoot in this, but that doesn't mean that Seth Rollins can't rise above it either. Plus, he has allies in the form of the Street Profits too. So yeah, I'm predicting that Seth Rollins is going to win this match because this just has to be it. And I just want Seth Rollins to sort of move on and do something else. So that's my prediction for that. But I am excited to see what type of craziness these two men are going to have in store. Because I love me a good steel cage match. So it's going to be brutal. But I'm predicting Seth is ultimately going to win. And then we have the King of the Ring finals match between main event Jey Uso and Oba Femi. This, Lord have mercy. There are so many possibilities with this match. And we saw some of them tonight when, of course, the match that I will talk about next and the promo that they were all having with Cody Rhodes, Gunther, and Sami Zayn. Jey Uso came out and stated his case and basically said, look, if I win King of the Ring and if I have to come after Sammy, who's my brother, or Cody or Gunther, and make you tap out like a little bitch like I did at WrestleMania again, then I'll do that. But then you have Oba, who sort of just makes his presence known and just comes out and like, haha, it's, he could fight against anybody. And they showed a little bit of a preview of what it would be like if Oba had to fight Gunther. And those are just two massive mammoth beings possibly fighting each other. And that would be very intriguing. And then, of course, you have Oba versus Sami Zayn, and that would be very interesting too. But then they also showed a little bit of something that we've seen before in the past, which was Oba versus Cody. After Cody, fought off everybody, picked up his belt, Oba comes in the ring and he stands over Cody, and then Cody looks up at him and lifts up the belt. Of course, these two fought each other at Saturday night's main event, only to have the match interrupted by Drew McIntyre. So we've never exactly seen how that match could have ended. Oba, in that match, if I recall, dominated Cody Rhodes for a good portion of it, even though Cody kept fighting back. But here again, it did not have a fair ending. So we don't know exactly what could happen with that. So the King of the Ring match itself has a lot of possibilities. And there's also another possibility that I don't want to consider but have no choice but to. And it's the fact that Jey Uso could very well win just off of the strength of Brock Lesnar, Pumpkinhead Lesnar, coming in and wrecking the opportunity for Oba Femi. Because while Oba has been pursuing the King of the Ring mantle, he's also been calling out Brock Lesnar over and over again. And with SummerSlam being in Minnesota, where Lesnar is from, you could assume that Oba versus Lesnar 3 is the direction in which they're going. However, Lesnar has not shown up yet to sort of make his presence known within this tournament just yet to sort of wreck Oba's plans. Oba's in the finals now. He could wreck the chance for him, and then Jey could win, and we could see Jey versus Cody, or Jey versus Gunther again, or Jey versus Sammy. Who knows? And I'm not sure if I want that, because I feel like in order for Oba to look as strong as he is, it's like you have to present him as the next guy up, as the actual future. What good is it to have these future stars if you do not give them the chance to run with the ball? Like, give them the ball and let them play. You can't just keep them on the bench forever and doing all this stuff while everybody else plays with for the big leagues and all of these things. Like, how else are you going to lay your company in the hands of the future if you do not give them the opportunity? And I wanted, like I was mentioning before in my previous episodes, I mentioned not minding if Jey Uso were to win King of the Ring, but in my perfect world, I would have wanted it to either be Oba or Javon, because they represent the future. We've seen Jey on top before. I want to see newer people on top. Because of course, if Jay wins and he decides to go after Roman, then what? That's going to cause more of a rift within the bloodline, and I'm not sure if that's where they're going to go with that. So I don't know. I would just prefer if Oba actually won King of the Ring, because he's new and he deserves the opportunity to truly prove himself with a top accomplishment. It's like we've seen him be NXT North American champion. We've seen him be a men's breakout tournament winner. We've seen him be a two-time NXT champion. We've seen him be on the top of the BRP 50. And we've seen him be in the top 5 of the BRP 50 this year. Shout out to Black Wrestling. I want him to have a crown. I want him to win King of the Ring tomorrow. So I'm going to predict and fully manifest Oba Femi becoming King of the Ring tomorrow. And hopefully that Pumpkinhead Lesnar will stay away. Um, and then maybe we'll revisit that. Who knows? I don't know. But either way, I want Oba Femi to win the King of the Ring tournament. Um, Jay, I'm sorry. I just want it to be Oba's time. It needs to be Oba's turn because the future needs to start winning things now. So, yeah, we'll see, but I really just want Oba to get it. And of course, finally, we have the prediction for what could be either the main, which could be the main event for the undisputed WWE Championship. We have a triple threat match between Cody Rhodes, Sami Zayn, and Gunther tonight. And of course, last week we see all these heated exchanges between Sami Zayn. Actually, over the past 3 weeks, we've seen these heated exchanges between Cody Rhodes and Sami Zayn. And I find myself more and more intrigued at seeing a one-on-one feud, and I said this before, a one-on-one feud with Cody and Sami than I am with Gunther being a part of it. I just feel like at this point, Gunther being a part of this feud is sort of like a shoehorn. It's like, of course, they're giving him his opportunity because he keeps sort of pushing for it and whining and crying about it and using all this legal stuff with power that he thinks he has and all the above. But it's like, he doesn't fit. It's like, outside of him winning the championship for his own glory, he doesn't have truly a whole lot to prove. Whereas Cody and Sami have a lot of stuff to prove. Cody, of course, wants to retain his championship, and restore, more glory for himself. But then at the same time, he wants to shut up Sami Zayn, who wants to be his friend so bad and prove that he's a good guy, but then at the same time do underhanded stuff, and he wants to shut him up. And even tonight, we saw them talking trash at each other. But then you have Cody talk about how at least your best friend Kevin Owens actually stabbed me in the front and you just stabbed me in the back, which is what I said in my last episode, where it just feels like all the people who wanted to challenge Cody in that picture from WrestleMania 40 celebrating with him were always challenging him to his face or stabbing him in the front, whereas Sammy is just being underhanded and acting like a baby. But yeah, all of this is just a little bit more intriguing. Plus, you have Sami Zayn never having won the championship, which is another thing that Cody mentioned. He was like, at least Kevin actually won, has actually been a WWE champion. You haven't. Then on top of that, you have Sami in a country where he is at home as a Muslim man, and he's lost all these different times. And so it's just kind of like, at what point is Sammy going to actually, put his money where his mouth is and win when it counts? I am more interested in seeing this man actually try and reach for the top again and try to topple who he calls the golden boy than I am interested in seeing Gunther try and win this, because he just doesn't do it for me in this feud. Gunther is being shoehorned in here, and I feel like he doesn't belong. And I know that's probably an unpopular opinion, but that's just how I feel. I just feel like Gunther does not belong in this feud, and it should just be Sammy versus Cody. Now, with that being said, I'm predicting that, honestly, Cody might retain this championship. I just feel like him heading into SummerSlam might be the best option. And then if Sammy doesn't win here, then they can have a rematch at SummerSlam, and that could be a money match right there. And just have Gunther do something else. So, yeah, my prediction ultimately is that Cody Rhodes will retain and that we could see him versus Sami Zayn too. And I also want to give a shout out to Cody Rhodes for liking my post that I made on Twitter about having his jacket at work at my desk. That was awesome. That was one of the best parts of my whole week. Thank you for that because I love your black and white jacket and that windbreaker. My dad bought it for me, so shout out to dad. Um, and just getting to wear it and post about it, I was just really excited about it. And the fact that he saw it and interacted with it, I was like, oh my God, Cody. So yeah, thank you for that. But yeah, Cody crybabies forever. I don't care. Cody Rhodes is going to retain tomorrow night at Night of Champions, and I just feel like him versus Sami Zayn is the route to go for SummerSlam. So yeah, it's going to be cool. But then you also have King of the Ring too. So oh, that's hard. I just realized I contradicted myself. I almost said that I really said that Cody and Sammy was the route to go for SummerSlam, but then you have King of the Ring and you have Jay, which could be a factor, but then you also have Oba, which could be a factor because, of course, whoever wins King and Queen of the Ring tomorrow gets a championship opportunity at SummerSlam. Mm, tough stuff. But then, of course, cards are always subject to change. We could see another triple threat at SummerSlam. Who knows? Maybe Sammy will have to just wait in line and wait his turn again after whoever wins King of the Ring goes for it or whatever. But either way, I still feel like Sammy and Cody deserve to have their own thing without Gunther there. So, yeah, those are all of my predictions for Night of Champions. And now we're going to move into Forbidden Door. Now, I am not fully equipped to give a full on prediction of all of the matches at AEW, CMLL, New Japan, and Stardom's Forbidden Door because I don't watch AEW as frequently because I'm always working on other things and stuff like that. I'm not able to watch every episode of Dynamite in that way or every episode of Collision in that way. But the one thing that I will do is always talk about my girl, my goat, my bus driver, my hairdresser, my CEO, the wrestling love of my life, Mercedes Moné. Since she has been returning, since she has returned, she has blazed the trail and she is in her mind defending her Owen Hart Cup championship as she has now returned and moved forward in said tournament and she's going for a repeat. Um because of course whoever wins the women's Owen Hart Cup tournament gets a guaranteed AEW Women's World Championship opportunity at All In London, and it would be full circle for Mercedes Moné to win this match and get an opportunity at the championship in London simply because the first time she made her appearance on AEW, it was when she was in the audience, sort of figuring out what was going to be next for her wrestling career and watching AEW when she was just, when she wasn't with WWE anymore. She was in the audience, sort of watching the event happen, and everybody was like, oh my God, it's her. And so now it would be really cool and full circle for her to get this opportunity and then win the championship that has eluded her grasp for the past year and win it against Tekla. However, you have Miss Maya World, friend of the pod, um, who is looking to honor her late brother and etch her name in history by defeating an idol of hers. Basically, any young black woman that has started in wrestling within the past 10 to 15 years always cites Mercedes Moné slash Sasha Banks as their inspiration for wanting to get into the business. And Maya World is one of these women. She even talked about it on my show. So if you want to go back and listen to that interview that I had with Maya World before she was signed to AEW, you can go back and listen or watch that on the YouTube channel. Um, she has cited her as an inspiration. But as of late, Mercedes has been making fun of her, poking fun at her, even attacking her with her teacher, Athena. Um, they were ganging up on her and beating up on her, and now they are going against Maya World and High End in a tag team match at Collision. So it's just a lot of heated stuff going on. They're having lots of crazy exchanges with each other on social media. Um, there was one post where Mercedes called herself a boss, and Maya World was like, "Wait, I thought we weren't calling you that anymore." It was just really funny, like all of their heated exchanges that they're having. So it's really hard because my heart is split in two ways with this match. I want Maya World to win to honor her late brother and to, etch her name as someone to watch as the future of women's wrestling, of black women's wrestling for sure. But then you have Mercedes, who is my goat and my doctor and all the things. And I want her to get that title so, so bad. And get that opportunity. Whew! I wish there was a way for both of these women to win the Owen Hart Cup so they can just have the opportunity and just move on and just whatever. But it can't be that way. So I'm going to predict. Oh, this hurts my soul. I'm going to predict that Mercedes Moné is ultimately going to win, but I feel like her and Maya World are going to have a stellar match. Maya World is going to strike out on her own and prove that she is the future of women's wrestling for sure. But I just feel like this is Mercedes' time. She'll be the first ever two-time women's Owen Hart Cup winner, and she'll go on and face Tekla, who has had a lot to say about her in the media leading up to Forbidden Door. So, yeah, this is going to be really interesting. But if Maya World winds up winning this and upsetting Mercedes, I won't be mad about it either because she would deserve that opportunity for sure. But my prediction is always with my GOAT, Mercedes Moné, my CEO. So, yeah. And I also want to send a good luck to every other woman on the AEW Forbidden Door card. I know there's going to be a women's World Tag Team match, and Thunder Rosa, who was also one of my earlier guests on the Hardy Wrestling Podcast, will be fighting in a tag team match against Megan Bayne and her partner as well. I know that Tekla will be defending her title against Starlight Kid from Stardom. So there's a lot of great women's action that's happening at Forbidden Door, and I send my love and my praises to all of those women. But I just don't want to do them the disservice of trying to predict their matches when I haven't been consistently, watching them in the way that they deserve to be covered. So I, yeah, I just wanted to give my prediction about Mercedes' match because I love her all the way down, and I just am very intrigued to see how this goes with her and Maya World. So yeah, and I'm just really proud of the fact that these are two black women at the end of this tournament. It's very wonderful. It's so wonderful to see black women in AEW, you know, get this far. So it's wonderful. I love it. So now we move into NXT's Great American Bash, which will be happening this Sunday on the CW. This will be the first NXT premium live event to take place on cable television. So this will be on the CW like every episode of NXT is. So if you have cable and if you have the channel the CW, you can watch it on TV. Do not look for it on a streaming site unless of course you just want to stream it from an app or whatever, but you can watch it on regular TV. Watch it Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern on the CW. I sound like a commercial. But yeah, you can watch it on TV. And I also know that TNA Slammiversary is taking place, but here again, because I don't watch enough of it, I don't want to give my predictions, but I'm sending my love and appreciation to all of those boys and girls who work over there as well. And I also know that NXT people work over there too. So I don't want to give my predictions for that event and not knowing all of what's going on there. So that's why we're moving into NXT and the Great American Bash. Now, last year, the Great American Bash took place during Evolution Weekend, Saturday Night's Main Event Weekend in Atlanta, which held Goldberg's last match, and the weekend Beyonce came to town. So there was a lot of wrestling and a lot of everything else going on in Atlanta last summer. So this is different. They're having the Great American Bash in Orlando. I'm assuming in the Performance Center. So I'm excited about this. This card looks very promising. So ooh, we're skipping ahead for some weird reason. Um, yeah, the women. We of course have the WWE Women's Speed Championship on the line with Ren Sinclair of the Ren QCC going up against Birthright's Ariana Grace. Now, I'm sort of torn about this match because we haven't seen Ren Sinclair like fully defend the championship like this. So even though I know that it's a tournament based sort of thing to see who's going to be number one contender, I just feel like I'm not ready to watch Ren Sinclair lose his title yet. But I low key feel like there might be a little bit of a struggle between her and Kendall Gray, sort of being there for each other and not being there for each other or cheering for each other or whatever. So I think I'm gonna predict that Ariana Grace might win. Yeah, I think Ariana Grace might win the speed championship for the women because yeah, I feel like Birthright, they are a faction of people who come from wrestling families. But I feel like there isn't a lot of glory on their end when it comes to titles, and all of it has mostly come from her because she was recently a TNA Knockouts champion. So yeah, I just feel like for some weird reason, I just have this weird inkling that maybe Ariana Grace might win this title. I don't know. Um, I'm really interested to see how she sort of adapts more to the speed environment. But yeah, I just feel like Ariana Grace might win. So that's my prediction for that. And then, of course, we move into the NXT Women's North American Championship match between Tatum Paxley, Taterbug, versus Zarya. Zarya won this title, and it's so interesting that she won this title right off of the heels of Sol Ruka winning the Women's Intercontinental Championship on the main roster. She is now, got her own level of glory and her own level of shine now that her and Sol Ruka have separated. And of course, Tatum Paxley lost that title against Zarya. Now she's sort of wanting it back. But I just feel like Zarya has a stranglehold on that belt, and I think she doesn't plan on giving it up anytime soon. So I'm going to predict that Zarya is going to retain the Women's North American Championship, and that maybe Tatum Paxley might be on her way up to the main roster because, quite frankly, I don't know what else Tatum could do in NXT because she's been there for so very long. So if they decided to move her up to the main roster after this match, I will be definitely happy about it. So I'm gonna predict that Zarya is gonna retain the title and Taterbug might be on her way out. So yeah. But then I also just had another interesting thought. What if Tatum Paxley got called up to the main roster and then decided to realign with Lyra Valkyria, who is now recently turned heel on Bailey, and then they have a heel tag team? Not trying to like pigeonhole Lyra with a tag team again, but I just feel like that would be interesting. A heel dark Tatum would be pretty nuts. But either way, I think Zarya is going to retain. And then, of course, a match that's been announced as the main event of the Great American Bash, we have Lola Vice, who is also going to be defending her NXT Women's Championship at AAA this weekend against La Hiedra, who I don't like for reasons. But either way, Lola Vice will be defending her championship against Kendall Gray, the upstart who has had multiple chances at the NXT Women's title, but has yet to win it. you could almost assume that because it's being put in the main event, that maybe the title will change hands. But for some weird reason, I just can't help but feel like Lola might win here. And I feel like, but then I also just can't help but feel like there might be some shenanigans because you have the X factor of Miss Kalani Jordan with an axe to grind and feeling like, if she had one shot and one opportunity, like Eminem, she would win the NXT women's title. So I can't help but feel like this match, even though it's in the main event, it might not end as fair and square as it should. So I'm gonna predict that Lola Vice might retain, but it might be due to crazy shenanigans with Kalani Jordan possibly screwing Kendall Gray out of her opportunity here. So yeah, that's just kind of how I feel about it. I'm not ready to see Lola lose this title. I like her as champion and she definitely earned her opportunity and got it finally. But I'm not really fully interested in seeing Kendall Gray be the champion right now because it just seems like everyone is sort of propositioning her to be like this next big thing. And yes, she is great and she's talented, but at the same time, her getting an opportunity at the NXT Women's Title when Kalani Jordan, excuse me, has not had a full crack at it just kind of makes no sense. It's like you're skipping the line, and I don't like that. So yeah, I'm predicting that Lola Vice is going to retain due to shenanigans, and I'll actually be okay with that. So yeah. Now when it comes to the men, we have Saquon Sugars versus Dion Lennox. A battle between Dark State and their cast out. Of course, they crossed out Saquon Sugars, kicked him out of the group, and Dion Lennox has essentially stepped forward as the mouthpiece of the new Dark State. And these two men had probably one of my favorite promos of the entire week when they were shooting at each other. And Saquon, for all that it is worth, let us know why he should definitely be next up, like he said in that promo. Everything that he was saying to Dion Lennox just felt real and authentic and fire. And I'm just like, bro, strap him up right now. Give him a title or something right now because Saquon is just that guy. He just has it together. And then you have Dion Lennox who was telling him, look, yeah, you might be a wrestler, but you don't look like a superstar. And I'm just looking like, I know you ain't talking Dion Lennox when once upon a time you was backstage with a book wearing glasses, looking like a complete muscle bound nerd. But we just gonna forget about that. Um so not to say that there's anything wrong with muscle bound nerds. I mean, y'all are fine. But at the same time, like Dion, you can't be throwing shade at Saquon like that. Then on top of that, he wanted to make it seem like Saquon was just the weakest link and making it seem like, oh well, you were just the weakest part of Dark State and nobody saw all the times behind the scenes where we were always bigging you up when you didn't believe in yourself. And yeah, it looked like it cracked a little bit of Saquon's bravado and confidence, but I really just want to see Saquon Sugars shine and show that his grittiness that he developed in the indies and in wrestling can actually overpower someone like Dion Lennox, who had it a little bit easy when it comes to the whole program, which name the name that I'm blanking on right now. I feel so bad. The NIL program is what it is. So I'm predicting that Saquon Sugars is gonna win. I want him to win really bad. I feel like Dark State is gonna try and like cheat or whatever, but I just really want Saquon to win. I'm predicting that Saquon is gonna win, and we're gonna see why he is the crash out that we know him to be, but we love him. So Saquon, step it up there and kick all the butt, please. And then, of course, we have Shallow Hill versus Tristan Angels. Of course, Tristan Angels is a new kid on the block, and he's angry that someone like Shallow Hill could win Mr. NXT. Because of course he feels like I'm prettier than you, I'm better than you. And then because Shallow Hill won, he beats up on him and then stole his Mr. NXT um ribbon. And I'm just like, why would you do that? That's so rude. So I'm predicting that Shiloh Hill is going to kick his butt because he's already played mind games with him already. And he's just going to get his ribbon back because he is the rightful Mr. NXT. Tristan Angels, sit down somewhere. Okay. I didn't vote for you in the poll to be Mr. NXT. I just didn't. So, yeah, Shiloh Hill, get your baddie chain, get your baddie ribbon, and take your place as Mr. NXT and win this match. Okay? Yes. And then you have this match, which is intriguing to me for so many reasons. You have Miles Bourne versus Tavion Heights for the NXT North American Championship. These two, of course, used to be brothers in the No Quarter Catch crew, the NQCC. And since they've separated from each other, of course, Miles Bourne has found success as a single star on his own, becoming a champion on his own, and all of the above, and winning in so many other ways. And then you have Tavion Heights, who's still looking to prove himself, but he feels like I feel like from his perspective, he sort of thinks that Miles Bourne isn't like his brother anymore. He feels like he sort of looks down on him now that he's champion. And I don't think that's the case, but that's just what I'm gathering from Tavion's perspective. I am predicting that Tavion might actually win this match, and not because I'm underestimating Miles Bourne, but because I feel like Tavion has more to prove and he has yet to win a championship in NXT. I just feel like there's a hunger and an anger to him that might actually motivate him to win. So I just think that Tavion might win here. He really might win the championship here, and it might shake some stuff up. So yeah, I'm predicting that Tavion Heights might win. And also, it really might be the braids for him. What is it, the braids? Yeah, he's angry. So, yeah, no shade to Miles Bourne, though, because he impresses me every time I see him wrestle, especially when he hits those high flying moves. Like, sir, a man like you should not be moving like that. Like, you're great. Miles Bourne is great, but I feel like it might be Tavion Heights this time. So, yeah. And then finally, we have Tony D'Angelo versus Naraku for the NXT Championship. I feel like Naraku might win this. Not just because he played mind games with him and burned his eye on Tuesday, but because I just feel like there's just something about Naraku that just gives champion right now. He just gives it to me. And it's not that Tony doesn't give NXT champion. I just feel like Naraku really might have the upper hand here. I can't explain the oomph I feel when I see Naraku come into the room, but he just has an aura to me in ring and out of the ring that just gives off deviant champion energy. And I know it doesn't fully make sense, but it does make sense because I feel it in my head and in my heart. I feel it, and I feel it so weirdly, like I can touch it, but I can't really touch it because I feel it. There's just something about Naraku that just gives off the impression that he's gonna win on Sunday. I don't know. I just feel it. And yes, you could have Cam Hendricks who could come in and interrupt things, and you have Mason Rook who might be big and bad and body slam people's dads and everything. But there's just something about Naraku. I can't explain it. It just is. I just feel like he's going to win Sunday. And if not, then that's okay. But still, just know that there's something inside of me, inside your girl Stephanie, that feels like Naraku could do it. I don't know. We'll see. But it's going to be a huge wrestling weekend, and I hope that everyone is going to be safe and have all the fun and watch it with all your snacks and goodies and all of your friends. And of course, watch it when you can, because a lot of people might not be able to watch it, as it's happening live, and you might just have to watch it later because I know schedules be scheduling. But either way, it's going to be a fantastic weekend in professional wrestling. And I just wanted to come on here and talk about it. So, thank you guys so much for watching me live tonight on this Friday night after SmackDown to talk about all of the wrestling things that are happening and all the predictions or whatnot. Of course, know that you can follow me, your girl Stephanie Hardy, on Instagram and Twitter at Queen Steph Hardy. You can follow the show, The Hardy Wrestling Podcast, on Instagram at Hardy Wrestling Podcast and on Twitter /X at Hardy WrestlePod. Bleh, Hardy WrestlePod. That's HARDY WrestlePod. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel, which is The Hardy Wrestling Podcast, with the logo that's at the top right there. Subscribe and get those numbers up. We got to 600 subscribers on YouTube. So, yay, celebrate that. We gotta love that. I'm so happy. We got to that, I believe, was it this week? I think it was this week. Well, no, it was last week. We got to 600 subscribers last week. So let's just continue to get those numbers up and maybe we'll reach 700 or 800, 900 and 1,000 and all the things. And then it'll be cool. So yeah, I'm trying to be as consistent as I possibly can with these episodes. I know Bianca has not been on lately, but that's just due to scheduling, and hopefully she'll be back next week as we talk about all the goings on that has happened this weekend, and of course as the week goes on, and we'll just continue to give you consistent work out here. Also, Steph and Cat Talk WoW is on a break because WoW has been re-airing episodes and their new episodes start back in August. So Steph and Cat Talk WoW is on hiatus, but continue to support Katrina at InCat We Trust everywhere and continue to look at her work and buy her books and watch her interviews and just support her in everything that she does in New York and in New Jersey as a correspondent and all the things. Um, and yeah, just continue to support Black women in wrestling, support women in wrestling as a whole, and support wrestling media and women and other marginalized voices in wrestling media as well, and support wrestlers of differing communities too, because it is Pride Month. Um, and support those wrestlers who are of the LGBTQIA plus community and just continue to be a light in the darkness. So, of course, this has been the Hardy Wrestling Podcast with your girl Stephanie Hardy with my big prediction palooza. And um, until next time, this is so funny. Bye, y'all.